Hello, welcome. I'm glad you're here. We are going to do January's reading wrap up. I had a really good month. I have my notes, but I had a really good month. I read 16 books, and I'm really happy with that. 7 were adult, 6 were middle grade, and 2 were young adult. It was a total of 2,723 pages, 56.4 hours to the audio. 5 were fantasy, 4 were contemporary, 3 were LGBTQIA+, 3 were literary, 2 were historical, 2 were graphic novels, and 1 was nonfiction. I was 50-50. I did 50% print and 50% audio, and I am thrilled with that. It was hard. I felt like I was so slow, and I was reading books that should have been really, really fast, but we'll get into that. In my plan to read, I had 14 books listed. I had 3 of my physical TBR, and I read all 3 of those physical TBR books, so yay. Out of my audiobooks, I had 5 that I thought I was going to read, but I only read 4, which is still pretty good. One of them I knew I wasn't going to get to it in time, and so I returned it. I had 6 books from the library, but I only read 3 of them. It's a little less good. Overall, I did about 71%, which is okay, actually. I'm okay with that. Now, I did do a mid-month reading wrap-up. I covered 6 books there. And as usual, I will do middle grade first, then young adult, and I'll put timestamps. My first middle grade book that I finished was A Song for You and I enjoyed this. I gave it a 3.5. I should probably go a little higher because I think my issues with it were more coming from an adult point of view, and I'm not the target audience. Rowan is apprenticing to become a ranger. They are very good and very eager to prove themselves. And so they fly their dragon into a storm to go warn the shepherd Leon about the upcoming storm. The dragon Kes gets injured. So now Rowan and Kes are literally grounded. Rowan spends a lot of time with Leon, and Leon is kind of the opposite. Leon's a little bit relaxed. They're very opposite in their approach to what they do. They both have their own issues and they help each other through it, and it was good. It really was a good book. It was a graphic novel. I don't know if I said that. Ink Girls, also a middle grade graphic novel. I gave a 4.25. It is about an apprentice to a printer. The 2 of them get charged with treason, but Sinza, she manages to escape, and she's going to try to prove that they were innocent because her printer had told her, 1, secrets never stay secret, and 2, always tell the truth. And they did tell the truth. So Cynthia needs to find the evidence that her printer had, and she gets help from the heir to it's not quite a throne. The tagline is a princess, a pirate, and a printer. I liked that. I thought that was pretty cute. I gave it 4.25, mainly because at the end it really was a girl power kind of book, and I thought that was really well done. I read Toothiana, which is book 3 in a series of 5 by William Joyce, which is part of the Guardians series. I'm really anxious to finish the series because I want to watch the movie again, the Jack Frost movie, The Guardians. So Toothiana, Queen of the Tooth Fairy Armies. Xanthof Clausen is the town. In book 1, we meet Nicholas St. North. Mostly he's just called North. And in book 2, we meet E. Aster Bunnyman. And in book 3, we meet Toothiana. And they are battling Pitch, just like in the movie, in each book. And I can't really say anymore because I don't want to give anything away, but they're very cute. I gave it a 3.75. I wasn't overly engaged in it. I do recommend the series. The next book I read is called The Trouble with Heroes, and it's a book in verse. And it has a really nice feature about it, which I almost forgot, is that it also has cookie recipes. Our main character, he's not a hero. He's not a hero or a star athlete like his dad was. We learn a lot about his dad. His dad was a New York City firefighter on September 11th and was photographed rescuing a woman and became famous that way. This is long before Finn was even born, but the father does have PTSD because of September 11th. Later, he becomes a paramedic. Well, and then COVID hit. Finn is struggling emotionally at the loss of his father and the distancing funeral that they had to have. He gets angry and wants to knock over the headstone. Well, the headstone is small and he can't knock it over, so he knocks over the one next to it. Well, that turns out to be the headstone of a local lady who is known for hiking the 46 Adirondack Peaks. This lady's daughter decides not to press charges if Finn, along with the deceased hiker's dog, go hike the 47 peaks in one summer. And so, of course, Finn has to do it because he knows otherwise it's juvie for him. It's very emotional. It was a really, really good book. I gave it 4 1/4. After that, I read Hatching Magic by Ann Downer. This is about, well, it's got 4 points of view. We follow... One is Theodora. She's a 12-year-old girl, and her father is always off in other countries for work. So she has a live-in nanny that is more like family to her. And then we also have Gideon. He's a 13th century magician who is looking for his wyvern. The wyvern is another point of view. It's her name is Wicca. She's trying to find a place to lay her egg. And then at the other point of view is Kobold, who is the villain, and he travels around with his demon. So what happens is Wicca goes through a portal and ends up in a different when and a different where. And I loved the way they put that. And so Gideon needs to follow, and this is also in Boston. Sorry if you can hear that music out there, but somebody's got some music going. So Gideon goes to a different where and when, following the wyvern, and we meet Theodora, who is very much into wyverns. They're her favorite creature, mythical creature. It just all sorts of things happen. Everybody's looking for each other, basically, for different reasons. It was very engaging. I was really surprised at how engaging the book was. And I got kind of stuck in the middle. I don't know if it slowed down or if it was because I was actually reading a lot of different books at the time. So I ended up giving this a 3.75. Also, I think part of my issue with this is that it felt old. It is a little bit old. It was published in 2003, but it actually reads a little bit older than, I don't know, it just felt old. It was still a very engaging story and it was very cute. I loved the way it wrapped up. There is growth in our main characters. And I do have book 2. I haven't fully decided if I'm going to read book 2. Dragon of Never Was. Magic Hatches Again. I don't know. We'll see. I do recommend Hatching Magic. I thought it was really cute. And Then Boom. I read And Then Boom, which was, I can't even tell you how many times I teared up. It shows you that you can have, between this one and the other one, they're both in verse, you can have some very serious topics in middle grade books. In And Then Boom, we're following Joe Oak, and he's living with his grandmom because his mother gets the itch and leaves. She just can't stand to stay in one place long enough, and she doesn't want to deal with having a kid, basically. And so she's gone. She's been gone a lot in his life. He and his grandmom are very close. The problem is the grandmom doesn't have a lot of money, and something happens and she loses her house. So now they are literally homeless. They are living in their car until one of his friends tells them that there's a mobile home for rent right near him. And so they manage to get in. It's a place where the owner-manager takes in people who need help. And here things start to look like they're going really well, and then something else happens. And this is why it's called And Then Boom. Joe likes comic books. Superheroes, everything starts getting worse and gets worse and it gets worse, and then something devastating happens, but they survive. Something happens and boom, they're gonna make it. So just when he thought everything was really bad because they were homeless, boom, they got this mobile home to live in. Well, then he ends up finding himself alone completely. And it was so good. I gave it 4.5. The Trouble with Heroes and Then Boom, both are rated 4.6 stars. They are phenomenal. Okay, time for young adult. And I read 3. Assassin's Guide to Babysitting. It's probably one of my more anticipated reads. I was really looking forward to it. I've been trying to get to it for a while. and it was the first book actually that I read in January. It is very much John Wick with superpowers meets Babysitter's Club. It's a society where they are assassins, and we're following True, who has a special ability, but she doesn't tell anybody what it is. She pretends to be something else. She and a friend are going to babysit when some assassins come in and try and take the baby. True rescues the baby, then the four friends all together are trying to keep the baby safe and take care of the baby while hiding away from the assassins. And it was just really cute. I had a few issues. I think they were probably me, that I missed something in the beginning, but I did really like it, and I probably will continue on with the series. My second young adult was Between Shades of Grey by Ruta Sepetys. And this one we're following Lena in 1941. She's 15 years old. She's an artist. And this covers, when we read World War II books, we hear most of them are going to be about what the Nazis did to the Jewish. Sometimes there's some books about what Americans did to Japanese. This is not one that I had read before. It's what the Soviets did to the people who were true to their original country when the Soviet Union sort of absorbed all those other countries. Lena is Lithuanian, and in this, she is in cattle cars with a bunch of other Lithuanian nationals that don't fit with the Soviet regime. And it's a story that you just don't hear all that often, and it was amazing. It really was. I gave it 4.25. I should probably move that up. My one nonfiction was also a young adult, and it's the 57 Bus, a true story of two teenagers and the crime that changed their lives. In this, it starts off with Sasha, and we learn about Sasha's history and who they are and why they dress the way they do. Then we meet Richard, and we learn who he is and why he did what he did. And what he did was, on the 57 bus, Richard lit Sasha's skirt on fire. I vaguely remember this when it happened, because it's a true story. It's in Oakland, which is here in the Bay Area. I shouldn't say vaguely. I do remember hearing about it. I didn't rate this book. I'm not one that... a lot of people don't rate nonfictions because they feel like they're judging somebody's life. I don't look at it that way. I look at it as you are judging how well the information is put out there. But for some reason, it just didn't feel right for me to rate this book. It was phenomenal, I will say that. It is loaded with information about the juvenile justice system, how disproportionate it is. It is a phenomenal book to read. It was phenomenal. I don't know any other way to put it. Okay, so my adult books. Where the Rivers Merge. In that, we're following two timelines, but we're following Eliza in 1988 and 1908, where she's 8 years old. We follow her as the time goes on in that timeline, but it stays in 1988. There's actually not very much that's in 1988. I did really like this book. I didn't overly bond with anybody, but it was a pleasant read, a pleasant listen to. I was doing both. But at the end, which I didn't realize it was the end, I was listening to it because I was doing things and it just ended. And so I went over to my physical copy and I'm looking at it and I'm like, oh, it's a two-parter, which I've decided I probably won't continue on with the series. I think it's just a duology, unless it gets phenomenal ratings. It's a dual timeline. It's family saga. I like both of those. So I did enjoy it. I gave it a 3.75, mostly because I was so disappointed in the way it ended. The Bright Years, I also gave it a 3.75, which I'm clearly in the minority. It has a Goodreads rating of 4.3. It's a multi-generational family saga thing, but we're mostly following Lillian and Ryan. The book starts with when Ryan is little and his mother is fleeing. Then it's from Lillian's point of view. She meets Ryan and they're young and it's the 70s and they start dating, they fall in love, they get married, and it's no spoilers, it's all in the description, and how their life progresses. Then the marriage starts falling apart and it goes on from there. And it was really good. but I just didn't really connect with any of the characters. And that's okay. It was still a very good book. I do highly recommend it. I read a contemporary romance. I read a Catherine Center book with my daughter. Technically, she read the physical book and was almost done by the time I got a chance to start the audiobook. But we did overlap a little bit, and we did get to talk about it, which I really enjoyed. I gave it 4 stars. She gave it lower. I almost DNF'd it, so I don't even know why I gave it 4 stars. I had the hardest time getting through it because our main character, Sam, was so whiny. Sam is a school librarian. I read it because it's in a school setting, and I spent so much time at elementary school that I thought that was great. Sam is a school librarian, and she loves this quirky little artsy school that's in an old Victorian building, but now they need a new principal. And so who comes but her former crush, extreme crush, Duncan. And at first, she's thrilled for the school because he was a phenomenal teacher, which is why she had such a devastating crush on him at a different school, and why she ended up fleeing because he was about to get married and she couldn't be there for that. But he's now a very harsh, strict, by the rules, none of this, none of that, no fun stuff kind of a principal. The two butt heads. Once I got past her whininess of the crush and going over about why she had to leave, it was so over the top annoying to me. But once I got past that, I really enjoyed it. So overall, I gave it 4 stars. I enjoyed it. I might actually read another Catherine Center book. We'll see. I read Sweet Bean Paste, which was my translated work that I wanted to read. Sweet Bean Paste is, we're following Sentaro. Yes, Sentaro works in a little shop that makes dorayaki, which is a pancake filled with sweet bean paste. Outside his little window, it's just him, and he's got a little advertisement that says he needs help. An old lady who's disfigured wants to help. She wants to work, and she bargains with him to get the job because she's willing to do it for almost no money. He hires her because she makes her own sweet bean paste because he's using canned. She teaches him how to make the sweet bean paste. Let me read you the bottom part, what the bottom part of the description. Sweet Bean Paste is a moving novel about the burden of the past and the redemptive power of friendship. It was very moving and a quick read. I just really enjoyed it. I gave it 4.25. Okay, I finally read it. Caitlin Rozakis, The Grimoire Grammar School Parent Teachers Association. I loved this. This was nearly the perfect book for me. It is in a school setting. It's a mom who did not know that the magical world existed, and now she's in a town where everybody has magic, and her daughter's in a specialized school because her daughter is now part werewolf, and she's anxious. She's a very anxious person. She has a regular psychiatrist that she's visiting, but she can't tell her therapist what's really going on because it's a magical world that not everybody knows about. And we see what happened, what led up to all this, but we also, she's always worried about making the wrong decisions. She's just a stressed out mom, and she's trying so hard to fit in and to learn everything and to be able to deal with this new issue with her daughter, who's 5 years old. I just loved it, except for the fact that my pet peeve, they only described the skin of anybody who was black or brown. I gave it 4 stars because of that. It probably would have been a 5-star read for me otherwise. It is super cute if that's not an issue for you. As Vivian careens from hellhounds in the school corridors to demons at the talent show, she races to keep up with all of the arcane secrets of her new society. Shops only accessible by magic portal, brutal trials to enter high school, and the eternal inferno that is the parents' WhatsApp group. So it is very cute, and I do recommend it, and I'm glad I read it. I just wish. The next book I read is part of a series that I've been listening to forever. Murder in an Irish Chipper is part of the Irish Village Mystery Series, and this is book 10. I can't really tell you anything about it because it's book 10, and it'll spoil the series at least the first 3 or 4 books. More than that, really. I love this series. It's a murder series. It takes place in Ireland. I do highly recommend it. Every book has been a 4 stars or higher. This one I rated 4 1/4. I probably would have done higher, except that there was actually very, very little of McDara. Siobhan's part was what we're there for anyway, and it was so good. It's a cozy mystery. It's what you want in a cozy mystery, especially in an Irish cozy mystery. My last adult book I read was my classic, and actually it took me a long time to read this. It's a very short book, Lady Susan, but it took me a while to get into it. It's epistolary, so it's literally just letters back and forth from Lady Susan to her husband's brother's wife. So her sister-in-law. Lady Susan is quite the character. She is 35 years old. She has a 16-year-old daughter, and she's lost her husband just a few months ago, and she's kind of putting herself out there as available to be married again. She's not in any real hurry because she does have money right now and the independence that she wants, but she also doesn't want she wants to basically get a man while she's still young, but she's also very manipulative, and she can just wrap men around her fingers. It was very interesting to listen to because it was mostly Lady Susan's sister-in-law whose letters we were reading as she writes to her mother and tells her what's happening, or Lady Susan's letters to her friend to tell her the other side of things. So it was really fun. But yeah, Lady Susan by Jane Austen. So I'm kind of ready to read another Jane Austen. And that's the 16 books that I read. I didn't say it earlier, but my average star rating was a 4.03, which is really good. A few lower ones, but most of my books were 4 stars or higher. What did you read in January? What was your favorite book that you read in January? I'd love to hear from you. Thank you for hanging out with me. I really appreciate it, and I'll see you next time. Bye.